I've always been a unique person, you know what I mean? Sort of laid back in a way, but very adamant and very passionate about what I believe. I think a lot of times that sort of throws people off because they don't expect me to have the mindset or the process of thought that I do. And so when you come in to watch my channel, you may hear a myriad of thoughts and ideas that could be different from others. What I want you to do is just sit back, like, share, and subscribe.
In 1 Samuel, let's go to 28 first. Yeah. 1 Samuel 28. Now in those days, the Philistines gathered their forces for warfare against Israel. So Achash said to David, you must understand that you and your men are to go out to battle with me. And David said, well, then you will come to know what your servant can do. Very well, Lakesh said. Well, then I'll make you my bodyguard. Will you be my bodyguard? That's not the real term because we're reading the BSB, but we're going to just have a good time with this today. So then he goes on in verse 3 and it says, now by this time Samuel had died and all of Israel had mourned for him and buried him in Ramah, his own city. And Saul, who is really who I want to look at. Look what Saul did. Saul removed all of them. All of them? All of them. One of them? No, all of them. Two of them? Mm-mm. All of them. Every one of the mediums and spiritists from the land. The Philistines came together and camped at Shunem, while Saul gathered all of Israel and camped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine army, he was afraid and he trembled violently. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him by dreams or Urim or prophets. So then Saul said to his servants, find me a woman. Wait a minute. Isn't he the same cat who just got rid of these chicks? Okay. Yeah, he's the one. He got rid of them. He said, please find me a woman who is a medium so that I can go consult her. One of his servants said, yo, you know what? There's a medium over there at Endor. Yeah, there's a witch over at Endor, i.e. Endora. Okay. There's a witch over there at Endor. So Saul disguised himself by putting on different clothes, and then he set out with two of his men. So he gonna cover up. Don't nobody need to know this is me. I'm just gonna roll out, and no one's gonna know that it's me. Nobody. I'm laughing because this is so hilarious because we always seem to go back to what we thought was working. We always seem to go back to what was working. So he put himself in a disguise. He put on different clothes. And then he set out with two men. And they came to a woman at night in the cover of darkness. And Saul said, hey, consult a spirit for me. And then I want you to bring up for me the one I name. Verse 9, the woman says, whoa, wait a minute now. Hey. Okay. Hello, El Gadma. All right. So then it says here, go bring somebody up for me. So the woman, she don't know if he's a narc or not, right? She don't know who he is. She don't know what he's really all about. So what she says to him is, surely you know what Saul has done, how he has killed the mediums and the spiritists in the land. So why have you set a trap for me to get killed? Why are you trying to set me up? Who are you? Why are you here? Right? Yeah, that's what she's saying. She's being very smart, though. So then Paul swore to her by the Lord, as surely as the Lord lives, there ain't gonna be no punishment. I'm telling you, I got you, fam. No punishment shall come upon you for this. Whom shall I bring up for you? She says. I want you to bring up Samuel, he replied. But when the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice, and she said to Saul, why have you deceived me, man? You the man, you Saul. He said, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Tell me what you see. Well, I see God coming up out the earth, the woman answered. Verse 14 says, well, what does it look like? What does he look like? Asked Saul. And then the woman said, well, he's an old man coming up and he's wearing a robe. So Saul knew that it was Samuel and he bowed face down in reverence. In verse 15, it says, then Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? I am deeply distressed. Saul says, man, the Philistines, they are fighting against me and God has turned away from me. He no longer answers me, not by the prophets, not by the dreams. Whew. So I had to come and call you to tell me what to do. Verse 16. Why do you consult me? Asked Samuel, since the Lord has turned away from you and become your enemy. Now he has done exactly what he spoke through me. The Lord has torn the kingship out of your hands, and he's given it to your neighbor David, because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his burning anger against Amalek. The Lord has done this to you today. Moreover, the Lord will deliver Israel with you into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow, you and your sons will be there. You'll be here with me. Tomorrow, you and your sons will be here with me, and the Lord will deliver the army of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. In verse 20, it says, immediately Saul fell flat on the ground, terrified by the words of Samuel, and his strength was gone because he had not eaten anything all that night. So he was sick. He just couldn't eat nothing. Now, he may have been, just wrenching himself and getting himself together, but he hadn't eaten anything at that point. And in verse 21, it says, when the woman came to Saul and saw how distraught he was, she said to him, look, your maidservant has obeyed your voice. I took my life in my hands and I did as you told me. Now, please listen to your servant and let me set a morsel of bread before you. You're going to sit up here and drop dead. I can't have you dropping dead in my house. You need to eat something. Now, that was me, but that's basically what she's saying. You can't drop dead over here. You're going to have to eat something. Let me get you some food so that you can have your strength and you can get on up out of here. Saul refused, saying, I will not eat. But his servants joined the woman in urging him, and he did heed their voices. So he got up from the ground, he sat on the bed, and the woman had a fattened calf at her house. So she quickly killed it. And then she took some flour, she made some bread. So what she did is she made some meat and some flattened bread, right? She baked the unleavened bread and served it to Saul and his servants, and they ate. And that night, they got up and they left. All right, then, Felicia, what is it that you're talking about here? How do we have this, why have you disturbed me portion? Well, here's the thing. How many times have you heard from the Father and did not obey? How many times have we heard from him and we did not obey? And then what we do is we turn right back around and go to the old vices that we thought were working before. So he just said, hey, you know what? This is what you were doing. You weren't listening to me. And since this is what you were doing, go ahead on and let that work things out for you and tell me how things are. The young lady that I was speaking to the other day was just like most of us. We allow everybody to pile all kinds of stuff on us. And we never go back to get refurbished or replenished by the word. We never go back and really, really get down and ask the Father, what is it that he wants us to do? We don't do that. What we do is we just keep taking it and taking it and taking it and taking it and taking it. But this cat right here, this is the coup de grace. Oh, yeah, I submit this was the coup de grace. It really was, because what he did was he went right back to what he knew was wrong, so much so that he went back on his own word. He went back on his own word. His word was, get them all out of here. I don't want any soothsayers, basically, no witches, no mediums. I want nobody to be here that can divine spirits, that can bring up the dead, that can talk to anything that's no longer here. I don't want any of these individuals. I don't want anybody going and seeking any counsel from any of them. None of them. So I want you to get them all out of here. And that's exactly what happened. But do you see how his disobedience led him back in desperation to the thing he knew he was not supposed to deal with? So here's what we are looking at today. The question is, why didn't I listen? Why didn't you listen? When you first consulted the Father and you asked him what you should do in a specific situation, and sure enough, he gave you an answer. Was it because you didn't like the person who brought the answer? Or the person right after that brought the exact same answer that had nothing to do with the first person? Did you forget the fact that he's going to bring his answer to you and he's going to confirm it with his word, but he's also going to make sure that out of every situation, you're going to get at least two people to tell you something. It's all going to be to the standard of his word, every inch of it. So why? What stopped you from doing what he said to do in the very beginning? Why didn't you obey? Are you sorry now? Was it easier for you to go back and grab the thing that helped you cope the last time? Was it easier to grab the blunt? Was it easier to grab the liquor? Was it easier to go back and lay down with somebody that you know you shouldn't be laying down with because it helps to soothe where you are and it helps to fill up your cells with just a few more endorphins? Why didn't you choose the answer once he gave it to you and run with it? Are you finding yourself calling on your ancestors and your great grandmama and them to help you out of circumstances and situations that he already led you to the truth with? What is it? Why didn't we listen? If I should, I woulda, could I. But this cat right here literally was the chief supreme, and he went back on his own word. He went back on his own word to go back and get that which was familiar, that which was comfortable, that which was easy, easiest and easier. So why didn't we listen? The disobedience is something that will cost you everything. See, it's not for all of us to hear this lesson. It's not for all of us, because this is not for all of us. This is just for some of us, for those of us who really do want to get it together, for those of us who are tired of saying, you know what, this is just too heavy. I can't carry it. I'm tired of carrying it. I don't know what to do. I know that I was supposed to cut this person off and cut that person off. I know that I was, because as I've held on too long, it's causing me such pain inside. It's causing me physical illness now. I'm at the point where I don't know which way to turn. I don't know which way to go. I'm losing all my money because I'm pouring into this person with their issues and their problems. Even though y'all told me how to get out of this, I'm still holding on. This circumstance and situation does not necessarily have to be a person that you're holding on to. It could be a way of life that you're holding on to. Why have you disturbed me? He said. Why are you bothering me with this? Well, because I haven't heard back from the Father. You're so desperate that you had to go to a witch and pull up for answers. You got me up. Why did you bug me? Now, when I was there, I straight told you what he said. And instead of you doing it, now you wait and you come beckoning me from my slumber. See, beckoning from the slumber is the same thing as crying out in the middle of the night when nobody else is there. But you're still so stiff-necked that you will not consult the Father for the truth because you don't want to do it his way. His way appears to be with such lackluster and it has no fun attached to it. His way, you don't want to go His way would require some type of sacrifice of the sin that you're in, and you love the sin that you're in. So you don't want to do it his way. You don't want to do it his way. So you go and you do it your way. And the funny thing is that when he went and did it his way, he had the same exact answer. This the same answer. The same answer. Should I go to Nineveh? Should I go to Tarshish? Where should I go? What should I do? How am I going to do it? Which direction should I go? It's the same answer at the end of the day. You're going to get the same answer. Now we don't have that kind of time and the luxury of time. We don't have the luxury of time. All we have right now is what he said the last time we went to him and we spoke. So often when we don't hear from him again, it's because what he said the last time was what we're supposed to do, myself included. If I would, I should, I could, I, if I could go back, if I could just turn back time, if I could just go back again, if I could just go back to the way I used to be, if I could just, if I could, if I would, I should, I could, I. So what is the lesson? What is the real lesson? Let's pause for a second and think, what do we do? What's the real lesson? The lesson and the truth is the fact that he has always given us the hard pill to swallow. And sometimes it is that bitter pill, but there's even a New Testament passage. And that New Testament passage says for you to lay aside every weight and measure that does so easily beset you, that puts you out of the race. You take off every single thing that will prevent you from getting where you need to go. And you run the race. And as you're running the race, you begin to shed off a little bit more. Why? Because as the longer you run, the more equipped with knowledge you get. And you realize that you can't you can't get to the finish line with all these bags. So as you're running at a very nice pace, you start to shed off stuff. Why? Because I can't use this with where I'm going. This right here going to slow me down. Let me take off this. Let me take off that. Oh, let me take off these earrings. Let me take off these shoes. They're a little too thick. Let me get down this road. Why? Because I got to get to the finish line. Because in the finish line, when it is done, I want them to say, well done. And I can't do it carrying all of this. You can't do it carrying everybody else's stuff. You can't do it consulting everybody else. You got to get someplace and just be real selfish with your time and just let it be you and him. Just consult him. Just ask him. You might not like everything he says because it goes against what your flesh really want to do. You may not like what he has to say because it goes opposite of what your flesh want to do, but press. Why? Well, if you need what you need and you got to get what you got to get, sometimes you got to let some of it go. And so, yes, you will find people that tug and pull on you. Yes, you will find people and you'll look around and some of that stuff that you laid off of you with the people that's been tugging, you'll be like, wait a minute, this isn't even mine. You set it to the side, you get a little bit lighter. And then you run a little bit more and you say, wait a minute, these weren't mine. And then you lay that to the side. And then the load gets a little bit lighter. And you keep running a little bit more. And as you begin to run a little bit more and you begin to lay aside every weight and every measure that doth so easily beset you, you figure that he is with you now. Now you don't even feel your feet hitting the ground. Because your trust is truly in him. And when your trust is truly 100% of the way truly in him, you begin to go to a totally different level. You begin to see the things that you've asked him for that are to help the body come to fruition. You've asked him to bless you so that you can be a blessing. Help me so that I can be a blessing. Put it in my hands because you know you can trust me so that I can bless others. Because see, that's what time it is right now. The time it is right now is for those who know how to govern things that he's given, that he can trust you with. It's time for you to go ahead on and say, okay, I see what time it is. I need you to sow this into me so that I can bless others. So we got to lay all of that baggage, all of that baggage, all of that baggage to the side. What do we always say? Take care of yourself first. That's why I said be selfish. And then you can help everybody else. Take care of yourself first. And then you can help everyone else. Yes, you can. But this cat right here, he wanted to take the cheat sheets. He wanted to take the cliff notes. He wanted to take the easy way out. And then look at everybody who was watching him. If you ever wonder why there's such evilness and wickedness in any camp, you have to look at the top. Were they watching him do opposite of what he said? Who were his servants going to tell about the encounter? Were they going to go home and tell their children? Were they going to go home and tell their wives? Who were they going to tell? Because see, the secret that he had was not just his own once it was done in the presence of others. So everything that you do, others are going to see it and think that because you are the top or because you are the head or because you are in leadership, that what you've done is accurate and it's right. And that's how you end up having sin within camps, sin within households, sin within organizations. That's how you end up having that wickedness where people can't put their finger on it because it looks like it's so nice. But they start looking around and like, wait a minute, where all this evil come from? And they can't put their finger on it. They just don't get it. And that's how most of us are. He went in the middle of the night. That's what we do. It was what he wanted to do inside of his heart that actually came out. Maybe he had a thing dealing with the divining of other entities. Maybe he had a thing with that. Maybe he was comfortable with that. Maybe, that's what he wanted. Maybe that's how he felt. Being partial was easier for him. We cannot run to others when we can't hear from Yah anymore. We have to go back to the beginning of our first love, of that romance that we have with our Father, and we have to apologize and lay it at his feet. See, that's what we don't do because we know so much of the word. We don't apologize. We don't ask for forgiveness. We don't become humble. A lot of times we begin to, yes, we do. We begin to tell him how things should be. We begin to tell him what we want him to do as if he is a crystal ball. We begin to rub and say, okay, now do it. And then we get upset because we don't hear from him anymore. He done left you alone. Because what he said the last time was what he meant. And I promise that. I promise that what he said the last time, that's what he meant. Why? Because it's happened to me. It's happened to me. And I felt like, wow. What happened? What happened? How come I don't hear from you right now? It's happened to me. So I know that it has had to happen to you at least once. Or if it's not you, you know somebody. That's how it works. We try and toil in every single way that we can. We try to push in every single way that we can. Because last time it worked, this time it has to work. Last time I tried it, it worked. Now this time it's just got to work. It's just got to work. And so what we do is we begin to put things in his place. And see, when stuff get real funky, then we got to run back to him because we see all those imposters. See, the imposters that we go to use in lieu of going to him and being submitted to him, those things still allow compromise in our walk and in our life and in our speech and in our mind and in our relationships and what we watch and what we listen to. And so that's the reason why we tried those things first, because we feel like, well, if I can just get away with it, if I could just blippity rig it, if I can just rig it to where it'll work just a little bit to get me down the road, then maybe I don't have to give up all of this. Because like Lot's wife, we don't want to give up the stuff that would easily beset us, because we truly and honestly in our flesh want to have our cake and eat it too. And so that's the reason why we go and disturb the dead. That's the reason why in the middle of the night we calling out to our grandmama and our mom and everybody else that we know can't help us. We looking for the ancestors to speak to us. Oh, please, oh God, just let my mother talk to me. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No, that's not how any of this works. It's not how any of it works. The way that it works is we submit to Yah. If we are going to be his and he is ours, we got to submit to what he says. Now, if that's not what we want, well, then we get what we get. Just like he was warned, ain't none of y'all gonna make it. You and all your dudes, ain't y'all not gonna make it. You gonna be, up here with me. You gonna be here with me. Think about that. Where was he? Where did he call him from? Where were they going to be? It wasn't no party. That's the reason why he sat there with all that fear. He sat there with all the fear because he knew where he was. He knew he had just gotten over there and drug him up. So he's like, oh, yikes. So what's it going to cost? What's it all about? What's it all about, Alfie? What's it going to cost? What does the lack of obedience cost? I just don't want to do this. Man, I tell you what, this is just so, oh gosh, really? You can't just take one day and worship him? You can't just one day. You can't just worship him on the day that he say worship him, the way he say worship him. You can't do that one day, but you can call off for your job to do something else though, right? Think about that. Think about it. Why is it easy to do that, but it's not easy to do this? I'm just asking a question. Why is it easy for us to understand that when we were back in the old ways, that on Sundays, we were in a specific place and we didn't have any problem telling our boss, look, I can't be here this Sunday. I ain't going to work every Sunday now. I'm not going to work every Sunday. But yet he asked us to do one thing and then the room gets clear. Why? Because your flesh don't want you to get it together. That's the reason why we have to take our flesh and put it up under the word, under the subjection of the word, put it right up under our feet, put it right up under the word and allow y'all to deal with the rest of it. But we have to be obedient. We have to walk the way he told us. The last thing he said to us was the last thing he said to us. But did we do it? If we haven't, then go back, as we always say here, return to Coda, go back to the beginning of the sheet music and do what he says. Do it and then watch the success overtake you. Could it be maybe the enemy knows that there's success and obedience to his word and the demons and all of the creepy stuff knows that if you get a hold of that morsel, that if you get a hold of that tiny morsel of truth that can spring so much truth in your life and those around you, could it be that because they know that if you get a hold of it, they lose? Maybe. I submit yes. So for us to just do what he told us the first time is my admonishment to all of us today, is to just do what he told us to do the first time. You don't have to get to the point of death, right? Until we do what he suggests in his word. Because see, he tells you what to do, but because you have the option of doing it or not doing it, you've reduced it to a suggestion. Because you got a choice. You do. There's a lot of kooky people running around right now talking about, oh yeah, they're telling you about this and that you've got a choice. No, look here, let me tell you something. You have a choice, women, to cheat on your spouse or not. Men, to cheat on your spouse or not. You have a choice to hurt or harm your children or not. You have a choice to treat them good or not. You have a choice to pay your bills or not. You have a choice to do it his way and go on ahead and do it his way and run the race with patience. Just like I told you a minute ago, run that race with patience. Take all that stuff off. You got a choice, because I'm going to tell you something. When the road gets a little too heavy for you, you're going to start taking off stuff. When that road feel a little bit too much, you got a choice to take off every single thing that would so easily beset you. You got a choice. And if you're supposed to be here, then your choice is going to be thus: that I'm going to do it his way, that I'm going to lay aside everything that would so easily beset me. What besets you? Well, it could be drugs. It could be overindulgence. It could be a lot of stuff. It could be a program that you take and you give your time to that program, but you don't give it to him. I don't know what it is, but what I do know is he sent me to tell you, lay it aside. Do what he said the first time. Do not go back to whatever made you comfortable for answers, the same way that he went back. He had just put all the witches out. He had just put all of the witches, all of the diviners out. He had put them all out, killed most of them. You heard what the witch at Endor said. She said, yo, wait a minute. You trying to set me up? Because Saul just said, he just got rid of everybody. He just killed everybody. And because he killed everybody, you trying to set me up. And it wasn't until she looked at him real good and said, yo, wait a minute. You him. You're him. You're the one that just put us all out. So what are you trying to do to me? You're trying to set me up. Let's look at it again. Because of what she said, yo, wait a minute. Why are you doing this? Why are you coming over here? Why are you trying to get me in trouble? Basically, that's what she said. Yeah, she did. She said, you trying to set me up and I can see you. Let's look at it together. Let's look at it again. Go to the word. You don't got to go to me. Go to the word. What does the word say? What did he say? He said he got rid of all of them. That's way up at the top. He got rid of all of them. Here we go. You got time. You ain't got nothing else to do. Come on and get this word. It said, now in the days, the Philistines gathered their forces for warfare against Israel. So Achish said to David, you must understand that you and your men are to go out with me to battle. Let's go on down here. Verse 4, the Philistines came together and camped at Shunem, while Saul gathered all Israel and camped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine army, he was afraid. He's like, yo, this is a lot of cats. This is a lot of dudes. I don't understand it. I was walking around in my pride a while ago here, and I just knew I could hang, but that's a lot of dudes. The word says that he began to tremble violently. Oh boy, what I'm going to do? What is going to do? He inquired of Yah. He inquired of Elohim. Yet the Lord did not answer. Not by dreams, Urim, prophets. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. But up here, what did Saul do? He got rid of all of them. And Saul had removed the mediums and the spiritists from the land. He done took them all out. All you chicks with your cards and your shells and your beads and all your stuff and your coffee grounds at the bottom of the cup. All you chicks, all of y'all, you got to go. Kill them. Get them all up out of here. All right, so let's go on back down here. When homeboy got afraid and began to tremble, when Saul saw the amount of the Philistine army, the word says that he trembled violently. And then he inquired of the Father. He went to the Father. Now what am I going to do? Look, what should I do? Well, ain't no answer. He ain't going to answer you. Right there. See? Truth. There you go. There you go. Look what? That proof positive. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him, not by dreams or Urim or by prophets. So Saul said to his servants, hey, y'all, look here. I'm going to need y'all to go and find me a woman who is a medium so I can go and consult her. One of the servants said, oh, okay, well, you ain't heard it from me, but there is a medium at Endor. So Saul disguised himself. You disguised yourself, Saul, but your servants knew who you were. They know people. You disguising yourself, but the people that following you know who you are. They know what you're doing. Your secret's not safe with anybody. You are now compromisable. You've now compromised the entire camp with your dirty deeds. Verse 8 says, so Saul disguised himself by putting on different clothes. If I look po, ain't nobody gonna know it's me. If I go put on these skippies that I bought from Walmart and put them little shoes on, put on a weave and sort of tilt it over to the side just a little bit, ain't nobody going to see me tipping into that man's house. They not going to know that it's me. Huh? If I just take this overcoat and put it over this, and I go get me some of these type of shoes, I go put me on this here, I go put on a hat, all right? And then I seen a mustache and put some Beijing in my hair and put the mustache on my face and paste it on real good with some spirit glue and just walk on into her house. Ain't nobody gonna see me, he thinks. Ain't nobody gonna know. I got a disguise. Verse 8 says, so Paul disguised himself by putting on different clothes. And he set out with 2 of his men that are learning from him, that are watching what he does, that are copying everything he says, that are learning how to be sneaky, that are not following after Yah. They are doing what he does because it works for him, they think. Part B of the scripture says, they came to the woman at night, and Saul said, consult the spirit for me. Bring up for me the one I name. The woman replied, hey, you look like 5-0. Let me stop. Verse 9, she says, but the woman replied, surely you don't know what Saul has done, how he has killed the mediums and the spiritists in this land. Why are you trying to set me up? You wearing a wire? That's not what she said. But she says, why have you set a trap to get me killed? Verse 10 says, then Saul swore to her by the Lord, hey, look here, as surely as the Lord lives, ain't no punishment gonna come to you. None is gonna come up on you for this. In verse 11, it says, whom shall I bring up for you? The woman asked. He replies, bring up Samuel. But when the woman saw Samuel, she cried out in a loud voice and said to Saul, why have you deceived me? You're Saul. You the one. You the one that's been teetering on the fence. You the tattleteller. You the narc, you 5-0. And then you turn right around over here after you done killed all my sisters now. Got rid of everybody else over here. Now you coming over here to me. You are Saul. Now come on now, verse 13. Don't be afraid. Now tell me what you see. She said, well, I see God coming up out the earth. Saul say, well, what does he look like? An old man is coming up, she replies, and he's wearing a robe. So Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he bowed face down in reverence. But you can't give Yah his respect, but you could do this. Okay, gotcha, no problem. Verse 15. Then Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? Then he gets to talking. Oh man, come on now. I'm deeply distressed. Them Philistines, Saul says, are fighting against me, and God has turned away from me. He no longer answers me, not by the prophets, not by dreams. So I've called on you to tell me what to do. Verse 16. But why do you consult me? Asked Samuel. Since the Lord has turned away from you and become your enemy, why are you coming over here? He's done exactly what he spoke through me. The Lord has torn the kingship out of your hand and he's given it to your neighbor David because you didn't obey the Lord or carry out his burning anger against Amalek. The Lord has done this to you today. Verse 19. Moreover, the Lord will deliver Israel with you and to the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. And the Lord will deliver the army of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul just, oh my goodness, he couldn't take it. He's so terrified, verse 20. Immediately Saul fell flat on the ground, terrified by the words of Samuel, and his strength was gone. Oh, not only have I not eaten all night and all day, but this was some devastating news. It was devastating news. Devastating news. But do you see how we as human beings want control so much that we don't want the real control that he's given us? We want control so much that we don't want the control he's given us, because he had control to do what he was told to do. He had control to do what he was supposed to do. That's what he had control to do. He had control to do what he was given to do. He had the power. Can you imagine what would happen if we were just obedient the first time? Man, I can think of some things, right? I could think of some things. And so as we walk through this story and as we look at our lives and as we juxtapose what's going on in this story and how we deal with things in our own life, we can see several different stories. It's not just the one story. I mean, as you can see, there's several different directions that you could use this in. I guess my main point is, instead of just consulting the things that's worked in the past, the alcohol, the pornography, the large amounts of sex, the weed, why not just lay aside every weight and measure, sacrifice all of that trash, lay it at his feet, lay it at his feet, and watch his feet work on your behalf. Be obedient. It's better than the sacrifice of your soul. It's better than the sacrifice. Be obedient. Let's do it together. Everybody, let's just be obedient. When he says intercede, just intercede. Don't even ask any questions. Just begin to intercede. When he says to do one thing, just do it without question. Just do it. Because we do it somewhere in our lives, whether it's for that boss, whether it's for a client, whether it's for, if you're a woman and you're dating, you do it for the boyfriend to appease him or to appeal to him. If you're the widower, you're dating a woman and you just want to make her happy, you appease her. Why not do it for the one who created you? Why not just be what he needs you to be so that you can be a blessing to others? Right now is the time for us to begin to separate, because the wheat and the tare, the barley, all of that, everything has to be separated right now. And it's going to be separated and burned up, whether we choose to see it happen or not, or whether we are the wheat or whether we are the tare. The point is that if you are barley, if you are truly supposed to be that wheat, why not just lay aside all that stuff and run this race with patience and obedience? That's what I want to leave with you today. That we just all be obedient. Lockhart
Perspective.